Great. Okay, so good morning.
Morning.
Good morning from Keith. So welcome back to the journey. Now, it's the third week of the third year, the 7th of September 2021. I hope everyone has had a good week. Have you managed to sort out your internet problems, Keith?
No.
You haven't?
No.
Okay.
I'm waiting for the one that they broke, hopefully to come back from their menders, or they'll say it can't be mended. No,
Right.
That's a different argument. But
Okay.
I'm hoping they come back and then I should be fine. Access to the internet through the hotspot.
Okay, so sometime in the next 3 months, you will get your phone back from the menders.
Well, no, I'm not going to wait that long. I'll give them till the end of the month. And then...
Okay, until the end of the month. Okay, so sadly, that's part of life.
Yes,
things do break. Now, today is a new moon, so it's a good time to register in your own mind how you feel. Yeah. Let's have a look. So, how do you feel?
Well,
yes?
What choices do I have?
Do you feel full of energy or lacking in energy?
I don't feel lacking. I don't feel exactly full, but pretty good.
You feel pretty good.
Yeah.
You don't feel full of energy, but you feel pretty good. Okay. Are you experiencing a clarity or a dullness of mind, would you say?
It's variable. Very clear sometimes during the day.
Yeah, but what we're talking about is today, yeah? The new moon.
Yeah, clarity, yes.
Okay.
Clear.
So, as compared to a dullness, yeah? Yeah. Okay. So, are you feeling quick or slow? Or well balanced?
I'm not slow, but I'm not too quick. It takes time in the day.
Okay, so you're warming up.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, after 2 years, and this is your third year on the spiritual journey, I should expect you to be well balanced at this point. Okay. So, so what will the next month have in store for you? Yeah, the next month, it's a new moon now, and yeah, you can have a look at that over the next month, the phases of the moon, because that's an important part of life. Now, today we will be continuing with the flat Earth theme we looked at last week. Yes, and just to begin again, my name is David, and this is Keith. Okay, so to start with some point from the Bible. This is the King James Version of the Bible, and right, chapter 1. Yes, everybody knows this one.
In the beginning.
In the beginning, yes, God created the heavens and the earth. Yes, so we're looking at the order of things. So biblically, the earth was formed before the sun. As the light came later, King James verse 3, and God said, "Let there be light," and there was light. So the light came later. The earth was formed, but it was in darkness. Yes. So a moot point: the heavens, then the earth, then the light. Yes. Now on the third day, verse 9, and God said, "Let the waters under the heaven be gathered together unto one place, and let the dry land appear." And so it was. So we have water and we have land. However, Keith, would you agree with the Bible account, or would you believe into the modern science account?
The modern science account. I'm not. It's a great value, Genesis.
Right.
It's not meant to be science.
Okay.
It's it doesn't mean, when I say folktale, I don't mean rubbish.
Yeah. Can you come forward a little bit if you're going to speak? Yeah.
When I say folktale,
yeah,
these are stories which were passed by mouth. They didn't have that very much in the way of printing or writing. And so these stories about creation, which different cultures had different methods. The Babylonians, etc., had a very different approach to how creation took place. But we believe the Bible is the most inspired account of creation with its message. It has messages within that, not just science. Like it's science of a kind, but it's not the science we understand, because things develop. True understanding develops.
Right, okay, understanding develops, that's great. Now, you told me last week it would have been impossible for God to stop the sun, as mentioned in the King James Bible, Joshua 10:3, and the sun stood still and the moon stayed. So both the moon and the sun, until the people had avenged themselves upon their enemies. Is it not written in the book of Jasper? So the sun stood still in the midst of heaven and hasted not to go down about the whole day. Yes?
Yeah.
Now, true enough, Keith, that is hard to swallow. As they saw in those days, the sun and the moon circled above and round a flat earth. Yes? Notice, it doesn't say the earth stopped spinning, but the sun and the moon stopped in their motions. So we're talking about the sun and moon moving, and that's just Genesis. So the Anglican Church, according to you, Keith, would understand that we have evolved and put these scientists over God or over the Bible, let's say.
Not over. In parallel, we might say.
In parallel with God. So on the same, so now
and when we use the word God, our understanding is mediated through people, people's ideas, inspired people, no doubt prophets, etc.
Okay. So we're talking about God and scientists. So basically, the scientists have become gods in their own way on a parallel book with God.
No, I wouldn't put it that way, but anyway, that's debatable.
Yeah, a moot point. Now, personally, I'm not against true science. That which is demonstrable, observable, repeatable, and verifiable. But when it comes to blindly accepting science, like blindly accepting religion, I tread carefully and depend upon my own personal relationship with God, a relationship created with the Spirit when I was 9 years old. Yes, we had a look at the story, that story some time ago. Now, however, Keith appreciates my point of view, and we're just comparing the two models of the heliocentric universe to the geocentric universe. Yes. Yes. So if we go a little further, we see that the sun and the moon are within the dome, within the firmament. Yes. Genesis 1:14, and God said, "Let there be lights in the firmament of the heaven to divide the day from the night, and let them be signs and for seasons and for days and years." So then, following the chronological order of things, in verse 16, and God made two great lights, the greater light to rule the day and the lesser light to rule the night. Yes, he made the stars also. So that's after he's made the earth. Not forgetting Timothy, yes, 6.2, yes, yes, I'm sure you know what that is.
It didn't come to mind straight away.
Timothy, keep that which is committed to thy trust, avoiding profane and vain babblings and oppositions of science, falsely so called. But once again, a moot point. Today's science fiction. Yes. I too tend to be selective about biblical interpretations. and depend on my own personal relationship with the spirit to guide me through these troubled times. On with the meeting today. Now, so please remember, I studied the World War II from a French point of view as part of my pre-university diploma, and American history for my degree, yes, in languages, or in the English language and different languages. But I don't consider myself to be an expert, just reasonably knowledgeable about the subject from an academic point of view. We all know history is written by the winners. Yes, but what is written by the losers? Yes, I know Keith has a passion for reading war books. Yes, however, it's also is to be able to find the truth of the matter depends on the quality of the information one reads.
Sure.
Yes, so quality over a mass of studies, if you like. Unfortunately, misinformation abounds in this study as in others, so we have to be careful. That's why we call it his story, which obviously is the truth from one perspective, and there is usually an opposite and contradictory version of the event from a different perspective. Bearing in mind, we can only scratch the surface of the subject today. But we can, going back to the war times, we can remember what Hitler said. He said, make the lie big, make it simple. Yes, keep saying it, and eventually they will believe it. Now,
if you're going to tell a lie, tell a big one.
Yeah, so sounds like something out of the book 1984. Yes. Did you ever watch the video on that one, 1984?
No, I wouldn't like to.
Okay, well, it's
a classic.
It is a classic, and it's up in the Facebook group, the Spiritual Journey Facebook group on Facebook, and also on the website, the Spiritual Journey, the Google website. Now, first of all, why is it important to consider the flat Earth theory? Any good detective will want to discover the truth, however strange that may seem. So as a detective, by comparing the heliocentric Big Bang model and the electric universe model and the flat Earth model, one may discover new things that will be useful on one's spiritual journey. Yes, we will see. Yeah. Now, remember, being a spiritual detective is about using your faculties in a way that one. Let me just move the screen a little bit. In a way that one can bring into play one's divinatory skills that have been made dormant by everyday living of roles and cultural ways, building a career, etc. I mean, you forget about the spiritual, you have to get on with the life now, or the cultural life. On the spiritual journey, one should keep awake to the world as much as possible. Exercising one's mind and divinatory skills is important. Each one should fall asleep into habits that would dull one's life to such a point that one becomes little more than a robot in the culture, just playing the culture's game. Yes, from everything. Yes. Now, the reference I'd like to point out here, and you probably know this one, from Pilgrim's Progress. Yes? Yeah. A quote from Pilgrim's Progress. Christians, and this is Christian speaking, do you not remember that one of the shepherds bid us beware of the enchanted ground? He meant by that we should be aware of sleeping. Therefore, let us not sleep, as do others, but let us watch and be sober. Okay, so we have already looked at the depiction of Enoch. Yes, we had a look at that before the meeting, and being able to see levels beyond the the firmament, yeah, the dome.
Yeah.
We looked at the Gleason Flat Earth Map, and it's a sign map of circumference sizes and the size of the Antarctic ice wall being the edge of this electromagnetic biodome, some 49,728 miles in circumference. That's the ice wall. Surrounding our pond of seas and continents of the world. Now, we can now take a look at some pieces of the puzzle that make up our biodome. For example, according to the flat Earth theory, our small local sun passes directly over Miami, America, on the 21st of June every year. Now, there is a video that you can watch, Keith. Yeah, and I'll put this up in the Facebook group, and I will put it under the YouTube group as well.
Yeah.
Under the YouTube video. Yes, it's the edge of the flat Earth ice wall in Antarctica. So you can have a look at the edge of the pond. Yes, and but first let's start with some recent Second World War history. What sort of relationship did America have with Germany before the war? I mean, it must have been pretty good, because how did Ford help Germany during the World War II?
Ford?
Yeah, Ford.
Wow. Producing something which they could use for armaments or vehicles or whatever.
Yeah. Okay.
So that's before America entered the war.
That's before, yes. Now, Ford seems to have disregarded the criticism and continued his work with Germany. Yes.
Can you go into what he did?
So in 1938, the Cologne Ford plant was responsible for producing a full 40% of German 2 to 3 ton trucks.
Right.
With one estimate at the end of the war suggested that 15 to 20% of all vehicles used by the German army were built by Ford.
Right.
Yes,
Okay.
including the motors for the tanks.
Hmm.
Yes. Now, America was trying to stay out of the war. Now, I've got a link on the text page for that. The USA didn't enter the war to save Britain. They were dragged in, yes, by the Japanese attack on Pearl Harbor,
Yes.
and by Germany and Italy's declaration of war on them in December 1941. In 1940, Britain and its Commonwealth allies stood alone against the world dominance of Germany and Italy in Europe and Japan in Asia.
What about France?
Right. So one thing at a time. What about France? At the same time, it seems likely from the reports that America knew Pearl Harbor was going to happen, and the powers that be decided to let it happen. But was that the plan all along? Could it have all been part of a plan to help Hitler escape to Argentina when he had completed his part of the plan? Now, this is a war. This is good versus evil for world domination. So, not forgetting, England had to pay for America's help. So they, do you remember that?
Yes, wasn't the Marshall Plan? I'm quite sure.
Oh, that's before that.
Anyway, they gave a lot of stuff, rusting old boats and whatnot, but they had to pay for them.
Okay, not forgetting that England had to pay for America's help, so they entered the war like paid mercenaries. In fact, that's one way of looking at it. Yes, and you can see the link. Now, we had to pay for it all up front in gold. Yeah, so you might not know about this. And when the gold began to run out, it was in foreign currency and securities. Then, through the forced liquidation of British assets, in North America to knock down prices. Then the surrender of our patents and royalties for our inventions, such as radar and jet planes. Finally, it was territory. Obviously, 99.9% of Americans involved in the war were just taking orders from their superiors. So what was the long-term objective and plan of their superiors? Perhaps to infest America and the world with an army of 16,000 scientists who call the shots with deception and lies, a long-term plan to rebuild the world using the free population as willing slaves, to rebuild the world as a prison for those that think and believe their superiors believe that they are free and working for a better future. The slave trade is very profitable. To have a whole world of slaves building their own prison and palaces for the elite must have been a very satisfying plan. Yes, we can consider what was happening with Operation Deep Freeze. Do you know about Operation Deep Freeze? Okay. So Operation Deep Freeze was the code name for a series of scientific expeditions to Antarctica in 1955 and 56. The impetus behind these expeditions was the International Geophysical Year, 57 to 58. Yes, IGY, as it was known, was a collaboration effort between 40 nations to carry out Earth science studies from the North Pole to the South Pole and at points in between. The United States, with Great Britain, France, Japan, Norway, Chile, Argentina, and the USSR, agreed to go to the South Pole, the least explored area on the Earth. Their goal to advance world knowledge of Antarctic hydrography and weather systems, glacial movement, and marine life. The US Navy was charged with supporting the US scientists for their portion of the IGY studies. Yes. Now, so that's it for this week. Okay. Now, last week I sent you an article about Admiral Byrd. Did you have a chance to read that?
I haven't got it.
You haven't had a chance to read that?
Well, it's not on in my email.
You can't find it?
No.
Well, I sent it again.
Well, I'm going back now.
I've sent it twice. Okay, well, we'll be continuing with this study and the war period next week with Admiral Byrd, and we will look further into that next week, Admiral Byrd.
Admiral Byrd.
So, from me and from cheerio. It's a cheerio. Okay.
Thank you very much.